We got Harry here. We got Bart Scott here. Schefty, you were the one who broke the story yesterday. Tell us whatever we need to know about Aaron Rodgers finally figuring it out with the Steelers.
Greeny, for the second time in a month, we saw white smoke from the Vatican, and it came in the form of Aaron Rodgers agreeing to a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers in time for him to participate in the mandatory minicamp that starts Tuesday. That will give him some involvement, some activity with a team that everybody was waiting for this deal to get done. The two sides have been talking really since early March, since the offseason began. And I think Aaron Rodgers had personal matters that he wanted to take care of during the offseason. With his attention elsewhere, it allowed him to focus on that until this time came around. I think this was always the plan, that the deal would get done around this time, ahead of the mandatory minicamp. And one of the reasons that he chose Pittsburgh is because Mike Tomlin was willing to be patient in this particular case. Aaron Rodgers has a huge degree of respect for Mike Tomlin, and the truth of the matter is the two sides need each other. The Pittsburgh Steelers have lost their last 6 playoff games. Aaron Rodgers hasn't won a playoff game since the divisional playoffs in January of 2021, and now both sides will join forces in trying to bring Pittsburgh back some postseason glory.
Harry Douglas, our new voice here in this hour on Get Up. Harry, what was your reaction, Rodgers, to the Steelers?
So I immediately thought about the offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith, and him probably saying to himself, man, I'm in a situation now where I don't have to protect my quarterback and I don't have to hold back from calling plays because I have a guy in Aaron Rodgers. I also feel like when you look at Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers, like Schefty just said, the mutual respect is there. And I want people to listen to me what I'm about to say next. Aaron Rodgers, when he first became a quarterback in 2008, starting for the first time, Mike McCarthy was his head coach. Well, Mike McCarthy was going into his 3rd season as a head coach. And then when Matt LaFleur came in, Matt LaFleur was a first-year head coach. Then when Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets, Robert Saleh was going into his 3rd season as a head coach. Now, this is the first time in Aaron Rodgers' career where he's going to take a snap for the first time, where his head coach is a savvy veteran guy that has cachet and will be a Hall of Famer. So we definitely know the mutual respect is there.
Yes, and you can see that moment of mutual respect. I keep pointing this one out over the course of time. Rodgers and Tomlin obviously have that. Bart, you know the Jets about as well as anyone can. You watched every snap of Rodgers' season last year. The numbers would suggest he was a well below average quarterback last season. How well do you think he will play for the Steelers?
I think he'll play extremely well because he'll be able to run the football. He has a big target in DK Metcalf that he can throw the ball to. And one thing I know about the Steelers is they can find receivers from anywhere. So you think about Roman Wilson, I believe his name is, Calvin Austin, he's going to come alive. Fairmouth, he has that security blanket. And I love that kid they got from Iowa. I think he's going to run the football. I think he was one of the better picks in the NFL draft. And listen, all Aaron Rodgers has to be is have flashes of being Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to be asked to carry the brunt. He's not going to ask to be the leader. You have a team that's full of leaders. T.J. Watt deal can now get done. They can look forward. Now, the difficult part, when I played with Steve McNair, and he came this late, June 6th is when we signed him, what happened was it forced us to have a more intensive training camp. It forced us to have to come back a little earlier. So guys won't like that, but he's going to have to get caught up to speed. But Aaron Rodgers has already been off to a fast start throwing with DK Metcalf in the offseason.
So what it looks like in year one, Dan, obviously remains to be seen.
Right.
What it clearly does not do, the one place that I will fully agree with everything you have said this morning, it certainly does not address their long-term need for a quarterback, and it feels like it's been a very long time since they've gotten that right.
Sure, since Ben Roethlisberger retired, and honestly, the last couple of years of Roethlisberger weren't fantastic. So, yeah, they have to solve this problem for the long term. They know that. They drafted Will Howard in the 6th round. The 6th round, that indicates you don't necessarily see him as that, but they know next year's draft is going to be supposedly quarterback rich to an extent that this year's wasn't. They knew that going into this year's draft, and I think that was one of the reasons they didn't want to reach for a quarterback that they thought, wasn't worth a 1st-round pick, 3rd-round pick, whatever. So they've been looking at this big picture. The Steelers look at everything big picture.
Yep.
But they also need to win some games this year, and Aaron Rodgers, they feel like gives them a better opportunity to do that than what they had in the quarterback room. So they solve the short-term problem, but they still know they have to address the long term.
Quickly, because I'm tight on time. Harry, how good will they be? What will the Steelers be this year with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback?
Like, it's about two things, Greeny. Number one, can you start off the season very well? In the first 5 games, they play the Jets, they play the Patriots, they play the Browns, they play the Vikings, and they play the Seattle Seahawks. Can you go 4-1 and 5-0? And then secondly, it's all about that offensive line. 4 of their 5 starters are going into year 2 or year 3. The quicker those guys can gel and grow up, the better they will be, and also Aaron Rodgers.
Schefty, finish it up for us.
Aaron Rodgers is the 3rd best quarterback in that division, no matter how great he's been throughout the course of his career. He's still in a division with Lamar Jackson. He's still in a division with Joe Burrow. And we should also remember that as well as Aaron Rodgers did play last year, and I'm with Bart, I think he played better than people realize, he still was the Steelers' 3rd option. They tried to trade for Matthew Stafford, didn't get it done. They tried to re-sign Justin Fields, who Aaron Rodgers now will play on opening day, and they finally wound up on Aaron Rodgers bypassing the quarterback that Dan was alluding to in the draft over and over and over again, and Shedeur Sanders wound up in Cleveland.
Yes, and maybe he'll wind up a starter in that same division. All right, I'm up against the clock here. What are you all looking at?
Still top 15, 3rd in the division, but a lot of quarterbacks be 3rd in the division with Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson at the quarterback
25th in QBR.
If he's top 15 this year, then the Steelers may really have Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers. Let's do more or less. RC. I'm putting the number, or these numbers are from ESPN Bet. 22.5 touchdown passes for Rodgers this year, more or less.
I believe if he's healthy, he'll have more. Aaron Rodgers understands how to operate from the pocket. You're thinking about Calvin Austin in the slot, DK Metcalf outside, Pat Freiermuth at the tight end position. I could see him having more touchdowns than this, especially if the run game gets going and he and Arthur Smith can orchestrate that play-action pass, with Aaron Rodgers being one of the best to do it.
Graziano, 6.5 touchdown catches for DK Metcalf, more or less.
I'm going to say less. Like, I'm more skeptical, I think, than RC about this passing game. I think if they get the run game going, they'll lean on that, especially when it comes to touchdowns. Metcalf, the last 3 years, 6, 8, and 5. Like, that would be 6.5 is kind of a good-sized number for him, given his past production. I'm going to say less.
Bart, 8.5 wins for the Steelers, the literal 500 mark in a 17-game schedule. You go more or less.
You see right there, Alan Lazard had almost 5 touchdown passes before he got hurt, and that's Alan Lazard. Let me repeat that. But I tell you what, I'm going to go over 8. I mean, come on. I mean, Mike Tomlin in his sleep going to get you 10. They got 10 just last year with 2 quarterbacks. I think this year, Aaron Rodgers, they're at least 11, or they'll be flirting with 11 or 12. And they'll be right there in the mix. I don't know what's going on in this world. I feel like I'm in the metaverse.
So again, what Bart is, for those of you who weren't with us earlier, Bart, who gets paid to watch every play of the New York Jets season, and God bless you for it, because
I need a Nobel Peace Prize.
There are no words to describe how excruciating that was. I don't even get paid to do it, and I do it. So, but whatever. The point is, the numbers, and Graziano, you were right.
I know.
All of the numbers suggest that Rodgers was a well below average quarterback last year. Every number, every advanced metric, everything. And yet watching it, I can tell you that there were at least moments when it didn't look that way. And that was a team, let's just face it, that was poorly put together and incompetently coached. If you now put, RC, what I'm presenting you with is the fact that you have a team that has some idea what it's doing. They may not be ridiculously talented, but they have some idea what they're doing, and they have an excellent coach. I believe Rodgers is going to play well. Exactly how well, I don't know, but I believe he is going to play well.
I love the film y'all pull, too. I love the film y'all pull. That's like last-second desperation trying to win the game early in the season. He wasn't on the red line. See, I know the context. See, all these throws, I know the context of what was going on.
Well, that was a good one.
You guys don't.
We're seeing good ones here. These are touchdowns. Go ahead, RC, go.
Bart, everybody knows the context of the red line, because everybody knows that Aaron Rodgers went to the post-game interview and he threw his wide receiver under the bus. You don't have to watch every snap, which also, I don't work for the Jets. I watch every snap too, Bart. That is not a flex. We've all seen it. You can go to the end of the season. You can think about
every
Jacksonville.
Snap. You watch
can think
every
about Miami, the way that he threw the ball against those 2 teams. And you feel good about it. But that's not what we saw the entire season. And so we can't sit here on TV and say that he's the Aaron Rodgers of old, or that he was even the Aaron Rodgers that left Green Bay to go to New York. You're not getting the 4-time MVP. And even as much as we can say about the New York Jets and how they were constructed, they also had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. You don't have that with the Pittsburgh Steelers. George Pickens is gone.
So all these things are right. The point is, there's a variety of ways of looking at this also. Let me make an analogy here, okay? I have Jet fans walk up to me in the street every single day, and they're Justin Fields. I'm not excited about Justin Fields. You know what my answer is? I've looked into it. Josh Allen was not available. Yes. You can only choose amongst the options that are presented to you. Of the options the Steelers had from the moment Matthew Stafford didn't come there, to me, this is overwhelmingly the best they could do.
You were at the draft. You saw like almost no one get picked high at the quarterback position, right? This was not a good year to need a quarterback.
Right.
So I don't fault the Steelers for going this way. What I do want to say is I don't think this solves their problem. Their problem being they can't get to the second round of the playoffs, right? So they will not be the team that the Steelers expect to be or that Steelers fans expect to be until they solve their quarterback problem. And RC was talking about this in the last segment. We were talking. They haven't done that. This is a Band-Aid. This maybe gets you through this year. Maybe, by the way, he's 41. So, there's no guarantee he's going to play 17 games. So, yes, to your point, yes, it's the best they could do, but it's not necessarily any kind of fix.
I lived this exact same scenario in 2006.
Right.
Understand, Mason Rudolph, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. I was coming from Kyle Bowler. When you have played with Kyle Bowler, and you get a quarterback that is like Aaron Rodgers or just above, it is like a revelation as a defensive player saying that we have a guy that's not going to turn the ball over. Even in his worst year, he had 11 interceptions this year. He's going to take care of the ball. They're going to run the ball, play great defense. But he has the football acumen to get us in the right play and just make 1 or 2 plays a game is all I need him to make. And just make sure that he don't crash the car into the Hudson.
This is the same stuff you were saying when he went to the Jets.
But the Jets didn't have that type of team.
I was told otherwise by people at this desk.
When he went to the Jets, was that a 10-win team? Was that a playoff team?
I thought it was.
Was that a very well-coached team?
No, it definitely wasn't
all that was up in the air. This is a different situation.
RC, because this is we're going to.
I've been here. So you can say whatever you want.
RC, how good are the Steelers around him? There's been a lot of debate about that. To me, they were a playoff team last year with below average quarterback play, although the numbers would suggest it was right around average quarterback play, but whatever. There's a lot of names you know.
Aaron Rodgers.
How good are the Steelers around Aaron Rodgers?
The Steelers are good enough to be a playoff team. The Steelers are good enough to be a playoff contender. The Steelers are good enough to be what the Steelers have become now. They're good enough to go 9-8. They're good enough to go 10-7, win some games that maybe you don't expect them to win, also lose some games you don't expect them to lose. They're good enough to be sitting at home after the wild card weekend. That's exactly what this team is. I believe that Aaron Rodgers is an upgrade in the quarterback room over Mason Rudolph. I believe that.
I want no good things for the Steelers. Please believe
and you know what?
I do
it makes sense that you hate him because
lie.
Now you're trying to build the Steeler fans up into thinking he's something he's not. Into thinking that Aaron Rodgers is going to do something for the Pittsburgh Steelers that he's not. And then when he walks out of there, they still don't have a quarterback.
Let me get Bart. How good can they be? What can this team do?
I think they can be a scary team when they get to the playoffs. I think they can win a playoff game. I'm not worried with them going to have to play Houston. You think they're worried about Houston? I don't think they're worried about those type of teams. They're going to play a wild card maybe, but they can win it. Hell, come on, man. I won wild card games with Mark Sanchez, rookie quarterback. You telling me Aaron Rodgers can't go in there and beat C.J. Stroud?
When the playoffs start, he will be 42.
I don't care how old
What do you mean you don't care? 42 is too old. He's not going to be what you expect him to be. If he even gets there.
He'll be almost literally twice the age Mark Sanchez was when you guys went there.